is the very first building that was ever built outside of the old city walls. It's called Mishkenot Sha'ananim, and that's of course from the book of Isaiah, tranquil dwelling places. In those days, and we're talking about the late 1860s, Moshe Montefiore had an idea to bring out the very poorest of the people of the old city and give them a place to dwell. And that is exactly what he did when he built this place, which is the first of the buildings. Adjacent to us is, of course, this famous Yemin Moshe neighborhood, which today is probably the most rich and famous neighborhood you could live in. The walls of the old city are immediately behind me, and this neighborhood was built on the other side of the Hinnom Valley. And this is, of course, Yemin Moshe. At the time that it was built, the people were actually paid to come and live here. Can you imagine? They were given a stipend so that they would actually live outside the city walls. And it wasn't until they discovered that the people who lived in Yemin Moshe and Mishkenot Sha'ananim were healthier than the people who were dying of disease in the old city. And that's the only way we convinced people to come and live outside of the city walls, the security of the old city. Today, one of the most exclusive neighborhoods is Yemin Moshe. As a matter of fact, you have to go through a committee process to be even accepted here. And so today we see the rich and the famous living in Yemin Moshe. When it was originally built, it was the poor and the ones who had nothing who were brought out of the city and given these meager homes to live in. It's a very interesting thing that this was the border in 1948 before 1967 and the reunification of the city. And this was basically abandoned at that time. Oh, if they'd only kept their real estate. Today, it's worth millions. Okay, right behind me is the other thing that tantalized people to move out of the old city. Moshe Montefiore didn't just give them a place to live, he actually gave them a place to work. And behind me is the famous icon, which is called the Montefiore Windmill. It was to, of course, grind grain, and unfortunately never worked very well. This is the refurbished windmill from that time, and it was recently refurbished by Dutch Christians, and that's why it looks like such a Dutch windmill today. Okay, so one of the things that Montefiore demanded is that there would be a certain minimum amount of hygiene kept here. And so they had to wash their stoops every day. And of course, the outhouses were removed from the homes. And behind us is where the outhouses were located. All of this attributed to the hygiene and the cleanliness of the community that was set here outside of the city. And as a result, they were not dying of diphtheria and all the diseases that were occurring in the old city. And even at that time, no one had discovered germ theory. But this is what actually this hygiene measures gave to the people, is a step up on being cleaner and as a result not contracting the diseases that were so prevalent at that hour.